Hello and welcome to episode 44 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough here in cycle 78, day 6. We have about 26 days left in our drought, the very beginning of the drought. Let's hit pause, because there's a very important thing we need to fix and also discuss a little bit. A bunch of you guys pointed this out, and that is the water inflow does not currently have anything at all stopping it from emptying out the side of the map here, with the exception of this sluice gate that keeps the clean water from leaving as a diversion thing. So technically we're not going to lose a bunch of stuff, but you take a look in here and this is completely open, which, you know, isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if we were to have a bad tide instead, it would be mixing through here, and that could possibly cause some problems. And it's always good to, you know, just have a little bit more safety guaranteed. So what's going to make the most sense for us to do here is going to be to just put a sluice in this slot right here. And I think we're going to be able to get away with doing this if I remove this platform and just pop that in right there. Have that set to close above contamination of 1%, whereas this one is already set to close below contamination of 2%. So I think if I have it set that way, it should be okay, but I'll just change this to... How long have these plus and minuses been here? That's really convenient. Someone's probably going to say, oh, it's been there for years. Like, okay, well, you know, sometimes it's hard for me to remember things. But this sluice should make it basically bomb-proof in terms of, well, I guess I should just say bad water-proof. But they're going to have to be able to get in here. So we're going to go ahead and just put in a staircase. That is not the rotate button. Good job. I'm going to put in staircase there. And then just put pathing so they can make their way back there. And we also don't have enough edges, theoretically. So it's a very, very simple thing to just go ahead, put another platform in with an impermeable floor on it, and make it nice and simple. But we're not in danger at this exact moment of, you know, losing all of our water or anything. But it's something that definitely needed to be addressed. And I did see a couple different ideas that you guys suggested between putting the sluice either here or out here. I think for right now, just putting it right here at the source is probably going to be totally fine. So you can see they're already making their way over there, and that is going to be very good, very much needed. So we also have maybe a little bit of discussion based on some of your comments that we might need to have about what are we doing with housing. I currently have 243 empty beds, so it's not something we're going to need to worry about anytime soon. But there's an interesting idea posited that maybe we could have this kind of a wall of housing set all the way around the outside of the map. Obviously, the outflow here is not going to allow that to happen, but I think it might be kind of fun to continue this at least around this side here. So let me know your thoughts on that. If you think that's a cool idea, if you think it's a terrible idea, definitely let me know. And I'm not going to do it today, but we will at some point need to have additional housing, and that could be a fun and simple way to do it. Alright, so we do have a couple concerns. Chiefly, these beavers are always hungry, always thirsty by the time they get back home, and I think that is due in large part to how, shall we say, chaotic the path structure and the connectivity for food and water and stuff is. And we are working on fixing it, because we do have food over here now. And liquids will be going on top of this in pretty short order. So everything should be okay. But I think we've reached the point in this playthrough where we don't need 18-hour days. So we'll go down to 16. That might help just a tiny bit. But for right now, the easiest thing we can do to make this just a little bit less miserable for these beavers is going to be to just pop in some tanks up here. I'm going to start with just 2. But we definitely want to have stuff right there, super easily accessible, just to make it that much simpler. And we'll give them one of these guys right here. And you know what, actually? it's going to make the most sense to just keep this in the same ladder stack. There we go. There we go. That should be nice and simple. And I will extend each of these as well, just in preparation for everything else. And I was also, I guess, informed by some of you that we're missing industrial... Oh, I can't even see anything if I do that. We're missing industrial storage being connected places. And if we click on this, you'll see that a lot of these numbers up here don't really change. The materials stay the same, with the exception of 400 dirt, which I guess that's downstairs. And we're just... That's not the right thing to click. We're just out of planks. That's just the way it is, because we went through a whole bunch of them really, really fast, building all of these pumps and everything. So they're not hidden somewhere, they're just not there. But if we take a look at the ingredients thing here, we click on the district center and it goes down to 9,600. So what are we missing? It's a couple hundred cassava, and then, you know, a couple hundred corn, a couple hundred eggplant, a couple hundred of these soybeans as well. So that tells me that we have a disconnect somewhere in all of this food storage here. Most likely, but these are all hooked up. You know, you take a look at the way these paths go in here. If I can get this to show you correctly. Yeah, see, those light up. Those light up for the most part. So I'm not exactly sure what that's about. This over here should be pretty directly connected, and it looks like it is. So I guess that's just something we'll need to keep a closer eye on. If we go all the way down to the bottom of the map, actually not the bottom, we'll go to level 2. We do have this gap here that you guys have pointed out that needs to be addressed. That was originally a tiny tube-way station directly connected to a tooth grindstone. And I kind of want to avoid having direct connections to the tiny tube-way stations unless I have to. But we haven't had any issues since I stopped putting them on the very edge of the map. And we did have this one for a very, very, very long time with no problems. So I'm going to go ahead and get that popped back in so they can have access to that. And more importantly, so that this entire loop gets connected once more. They also haven't built this. Well, they're also out of planks. That's, you know, that's not nothing. And then yes, friends, the mine is not connected. You are correct. Well, that's because they haven't finished building it. But even if they did finish building it, it's not connected anyway. So we will just pop that tube-way there. They'll get to it when they have enough planks. But I do always appreciate you guys keeping me informed about all of those things. So, we need more planks. We already built this industrial lumber mill here. And we don't really have a much better option than how things are currently set up. Because remember, we're still expanding our reservoir, and we are going to continue working on that today. There's just, you know, stuff that has to get done, and it keeps getting pushed back. I don't really have anywhere over here to stick this either. I don't think if I put one up here, it would actually tolerate, you know, connectivity from the little, like, half-high wall here. So we're going to leave that alone. In terms of gears, we have 1,250 of them. I'm going to pause 2 of the gear workshops. We're going to leave one going because I'm inevitably going to forget to turn it back on, and then I don't want it to just completely grind to a screeching halt. Well, that's going to, you know, lower the consumption of the planks just a little bit. And these treated planks, you know, we don't really need those right now. We already have 2 of these paused. I'm going to pause a 3rd, again, just to, you know, slow down the consumption a little bit of planks. Because the only thing using these treated planks right now should be the mine. Which is going to be... yeah, right here. And that's the only thing it uses, is just one of these every 1.8 hours. But remember, the ones that were just turned on right here only make 1 treated plank every hour and a half. And every hour and a half, it consumes one plank. So, you know, things add up. Just little tiny fixes here and there going to make things just so much better. So much better for the beavers. We got 2,400 water stored up now. We know it's already enough for 22 days, more or less. And I'd kind of like to avoid this completely running out. But if you remember, we have our little continued irrigation pools here. And I was asked to check these deep water pumps to see what the depth is set to. This one doesn't have to be set to 4 because it goes down onto this block here, which means it's not sucking any of that water up anyhow. That's set to 4. That is set to 4. 4, 4, 4. A whole lot of golfing today. And this one's the same situation as this guy here. So we're actually good to go. But I do appreciate you guys looking out for that. When we get into this corner here, we're going to have to rebuild all of this. So you know what's going to be a great opportunity to do that right now? Is just to move all of these away. Move all of these away. Because, you know, we don't need to be pumping all this water anyway. We have 24,000 stored up. And we need to reconfigure this entire mess. So what better opportunity than the present, right? Let's go all the way down here. Take this out to the corner. And remember, this overflow still needs to be dealt with. But hey, we have 22 days left, and this isn't going to be overflowing anytime soon because of that. So, again, no better time than the present. So let's rip that Band-Aid off old style. And what does that even mean? It just grab... What does my brain come up with sometimes, honestly? Actually, you know what? I think it's that ventrilo harassment video from, like, 2008 or whatever. That guy with the Duke Nukem soundboard. Oh, boy, that's irreverent, but actually kind of funny. Don't let your kids watch it, but if you've seen it, you know. So we're going to fill this bit in with levees here. And that there. Once that's gone, we can take all of these out. But we don't have to wait. Because now what we can do, again, because this is all set up nicely here, is I can take all of this out. Shift those beavers off somewhere else. I don't really particularly care where they go. But reclaiming as much wood as we can, while we can, I think is going to be our best option. So now we have all this stuff just kind of sitting everywhere. We have all these supports that we probably don't need to keep around. We are going to end up redoing all of this at some point, eventually. So now that leaves us with only this area not fully bumped out. And that is going to require, well, to fix that, it's going to require removing this large tank. I've given them a ton of time to drain it, and they just haven't done it. So I know that we only have about 700, but I'm going to get rid of this because it's in service of the greater good. And now I'm thinking about the, Frozone and his wife in the Incredibles movie. I am your wife, etc. So that can get popped in there. Then once that's done, we can take this out. We can take this out too and reconfigure absolutely everything else. So in the process of doing this, we will also need to remove this row here because that's going to be where the straws go, which then means I guess, you know, we could probably leave most of these and then just put in another. Yeah, because we're going to have a walkway in between. The walkway just moves up one this way. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. This will need to go all the way across. And then there as well. All the way. And then all the way across here. This will need to be dealt with appropriately here because this is... Actually, I was wrong. These 3 here, along with this, need to be... Oh, I just deleted a whole bunch of stuff that I wasn't supposed to delete. Oh well, life goes on. This needs to be set up properly, like we have over here. So let's peel this back so I can get a, you know, actual view of this. Yeah, that first layer has the sluice gate right there. So I'll do exactly that same thing here. And I believe this is just constantly set to open. Do not close above downstream depth, but it shouldn't because it's locked open anyway. I really wish this was unchecked by default, but you know how these things go. This is just a real, you know, keep it simple, stupid thing right here. So I'm sure there's probably a better solution out there somewhere, but considering the amount of stuff we've been through to try and get this playthrough to this point, I am absolutely okay saying, you know what? It's okay if we do something that's really simple just because we want to be absolutely sure nothing goes wrong. Absolutely no shame in doing that at this point. And then that goes there, that goes there. And that's going to be our 4 corners with a little, you know, emergency preservation stuff that does not get pumped out. And then all we need to do now is get the rest of these put in place. If we want to have our space here and here, that stays where it is. And then I believe how I did that was with the 1 highs. I think so. Yeah, because I wanted to keep that at the same height everywhere I could. Yeah, so we'll go right there, right there. Okay, so that is going to get us there. That's going to get us there. That's going to get us there. Our singles there. There. And then, of course, this can just be regulars like that. Single here. And a triple on top. I know it's hard to see without the stuff being built, so we'll get this... Well, I didn't mean to press the 30 times button, but I guess that's okay. It's going to get us through the night faster. Now it's just normal daylight. I did turn the day-night cycle disable thing off, so I guess you could say I just re-enabled it. That was during a live stream with the Leafcoats faction, which would have been a whole lot of fun. But if I'm not doing the crazy turbo time lapses, I don't need to have that turned off. It's just a little irritating to keep up with when you want it and you don't have it, and you don't have it and you want it, or whatever. So I know somebody left a comment about like, hey, why does the sky change color? Well, that's why it did it. And I think I replied to that comment with that explanation. But that's why it does it. I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm pretty sure that was a very concerning elbow popping noise. I'm pretty sure it just removes some of the shading and whatever, but it does still change the skybox color because, well, that's, I guess, how the game decided it was going to get done. So, we have tons of stuff for them to build, and I know I just said I'm not doing crazy time lapses, but why not? Why not just do a time lapse? Doesn't have to be crazy. Just to get them picking up some of this stuff. You are going to see the water kind of recede a little bit here because that's, you know, that's what it does. And some of these crops may die, but that is the sacrifice we're going to have to make in order to get everything else taken care of here. So we're going to let this go a couple days in game, not the entire rest of the drought, and I will see you on the other side. Alright, we're going to stop the time lapse here because you know what? I remembered I made someone a promise in the comments last video that I was going to remove all of this extra dirt down here. And that means everything else here has to go. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let's hit pause. I'm so sorry. Mostly. Oh, boy. So I'm obviously not going to delete the corner bits here, but this absolutely must get done correctly, or I am going to be quite upset with myself. But the good news is all of this extra stuff got taken care of as well. So I, right now, should not delete that middle bit. That can come later. Oh, we got somebody who's way up in the middle of a... Okay, he teleported. That's fine. Yeah, I just... I was sitting there like, man, this time lapse is taking a long time. And then, uh-oh, I didn't do this correctly. Which, Now, depending on what the thing is that you didn't do correctly, it could either be, okay, well, that's mildly annoying, or it could be, uh-oh, we have to fix this right now. Fortunately, Timberborn is not that, you know, vitally serious of a thing. But now we have a huge mess. And we... Wait a second. Wait just a second. I can take this out. Oh, boy, I love it when I'm right. Because it's not that common. Yes, they teleported. Now what we need to do is we need to take all of this land out. All of it out. Except the very, very, very edge. Because that is the actual support structure for everything. So there. I know I said that just as soon as I actually click on it. Alright, now I can just drag this here. So, I know there's pillars underneath this stuff, and those will have to get removed as well. But now, friends, this can all be removed just to make absolutely sure. Yep. Then it's going to match, except for this row that I've inexplicably forgotten there. And we just have to be able to get down into it, which, if I can, you know, remember what I'm doing correctly, will just require popping that in. And then I'll just run a pathway down here. And now we can actually time-lapse this. I'm so sorry. We can actually time-lapse this, and they can lay all of this dynamite, even though we only have 90-something of it. We'll need to unpause the explosives factory and let them continue working. Don't you love it when something goes wrong and then you have to fix it, but you catch it early enough where it's not a complete and total disaster? Because I sure do. At any rate, we're going to let them do that, and then we'll come out of time-lapse, and we'll put everything else in the correct way. Oh, I love this game so much. Alright, looks like every piece of dynamite is in place, or every piece that will be detonated at this exact moment in time at the very least. So to prevent any tragedies, let's disconnect those paths from each other so nobody wants to take a shortcut. And let's hit B for boom. Magnificent, isn't it? So, now we have, right before this temperate season comes back. See, I told you we weren't going to time-lapse the entirety of the drought cycle. Just most of it. We have these pillars that must be removed. And hey, look at these guys doing their due diligence to come and get all of that garbage off the ground. I know some of you will be very happy to see that. We have to get these pillars out of the way. Well, we don't have to. We choose to, because it looks better. But they obviously can't put this in until they have something else to stand on, so all we have to do now is get those put back in place. But wait! There's something we didn't forget. There's something I put off because I thought for sure there's no way anything would go wrong and we'd have plenty of time to build it. There's no overflow for this anymore. And while it is possible that we won't need one because the temperate season could only be 5 days, we still need to actually make one. So, this is the center of the map. These two tiles right here, or I guess more accurately this one and this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this an overflow. And I think it's probably fine. This was a single wide overflow before because it went off the edge of the map, and then the waterfall limit does not apply if it's off the edge of the map. But this isn't going to be overflowing off the edge of the map, no. What I'm going to end up doing here is creating, I guess it's going to have to be 3 or 4 wide, based on the output strength of the source over here being 6, which would be 3 blocks wide, but symmetry is cool, so it's probably going to be 4. I'm going to make another little area for pumps where this overflows into a pool, and then maybe, depending on how we want to do it, we could have it kind of trickle down between a couple different areas. And then I really liked this suggestion. We use deep mechanical fluid pumps to, at the end of that, not send it off the map, but put it right back into the reservoir to begin with. I think that would be fun. The maximum depth on these guys is 8, so it's not going to let me, show you how this works very nicely, but Trust me when I say this will fit. It will actually, you know, be enough. We'll just have to maybe be a little bit creative with how we route the pumps and the channels and everything that would use this. But I think it would be possible for this to be a viable thing. We would just have to make a couple of decisions about how many extra pumps we need. I believe the number, let me just scroll down here in my notes document here. Drinking water. 59 water pumps sustains population. 344 pumps fully sustains the water situation in the worst case scenario of a 30-day drought, bad tide, and only 5 days of temperate afterwards. Obviously, we're not building 344 pumps, but we definitely are going to want to have maybe about 100 or so. So right here, this is a row of 13. This would be 26. This would be your 52 right here. If I duplicate this, and then I can put another 20-ish or so here. So there's room for at least a dozen or 2 dozen pumps to be put outside the main reservoir. The reason I would separate it is so that we could still have this main reservoir do whatever irrigation purposes and storing all that it needs to do, and then maybe get creative with how the rest of this is set off everywhere else. Because remember, we have all of this down here that is not being touched. So, as cycle 79 begins here, let's think about a couple of other ideas. And I am, of course, going to solicit your feedback. I'm not just going to jump into this because you know how that goes if I do that. But I think I want to have an overflow up here, and then also down here at the very bottom, maybe there's an opportunity for us to have a regulated outflow. Not a sluice, necessarily. But maybe we do something where we cut a hole or even just remove one of these levees, and in front of it or behind it, maybe, put in a floodgate set to a very... Obviously, this isn't going to work, me putting this here. But set it to a very, very slim opening so that water is always trickling out, but not enough so that it would empty the thing. Because, you know, if you do that with sluices, it's just like, all right, well, somebody punched a hole in the dam and now everything's going to go away. But if you just have a little sliver, just a little sliver, and you can also automate these because we do have the simple floodgate triggers mod, we could have somewhere punched out a hole here or there or what have you, and then just have a couple of pumps or some other irrigation channel or something. And this stuff people have discussed a couple of times, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to weigh in on it. And if anyone has any schematics or fun ideas that are actually thought out beyond just me rambling to myself in my mind while I'm waiting for this time-lapse stuff to conclude, would be very much appreciated. But that's still decidedly a not right now thing, so let's, for the time being, start the process of building this overflow thing. So, I think it's probably going to be fine without me thinking too hard about it. But if I have one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, this puts that on the edge of the map. If I move it one over, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here, that's going to give us full utilization of this, except for the very edge, which, remember, we do not want to have water going off of, because we want to use all the water. We want to just keep cycling it back and forth. Obviously, if it's already full, then there's going to be some amount of waste. But if you have enough pumps pumping, you're going to outpace the fill rate at some point, right? Maybe it's a stupid idea. Maybe I just need to, you know, figure it out. But I like the idea of, you know, just experimenting with something and seeing what works. You know, it's okay to make mistakes. Sometimes it's preferable. But you never know unless you try. So if I have this be 8 wide, that's going to give me an opportunity to come right here on the edge, and then right here, and then I will have walkway for a third set of pumps, or I go out to 10, and then I have one here, one here. Okay, that one would need to be 12. Remember, I'm not good at math. I'm aggressively not good at math. But what I can do is ask other people to do it for me. And that usually ends up being a good idea. So if we just do, because we don't have enough, we don't have enough stuff to put up here anyway. Just make this a little like a modular add-on thing. This also isn't going to fill up in this temperate cycle, most likely, because we've made so much extra space. And because it's not, you know, not even half full at this point. Just let these guys do their thing. We don't need to worry about retaining any water here. But we might, from here, we might want to think about putting in the very bottom of this a sluice gate to get into this other area that's going to end up pumping things back in. I have to decide how that's going to get routed, because we could just have it dump right on top of one of these things, or we could just say, you know what, that's it. It overflows in here, and then whatever is left in here just overflows off the edge of the map. That is an option, and probably the easiest thing to do for right now. So that is, I think, what I will get set up. That's 5 there. And then I will just put 2 dams here. Remember, because it's the edge of the map, it doesn't matter. Not going to have any issues. Just let those guys do whatever they're going to do. Just close this in as well. And then, like I said, we'll just have to have these set up appropriately here. Remember, that's going to be, if I did this correctly. I'm so sorry. I have to sit here and think, and it takes me a long time, and I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. So what I did was I assumed I was using the outside wall of this, when this actually needs to be 2 blocks further out. Remember, folks, it is a learning process. And you already know what the other half of that is. You already know. Let's get that popped in there. And the middle pieces can still stay the way they are, except now I'm going to have one more space in between everything, because, you know, it has to be symmetrical, so on and so forth. That is just, unfortunately, the burden that I have been saddled with, needing everything to be absolutely perfect at all times. So we have an extra thing set up here. And don't forget, we have this that's going to go there. Alright, so that gets us an extra 16. This will be 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 extras here. And there is going to be a little bit of extra space just because of the whole symmetry of it all. But we will be A-okay. This, of course, will have a little run around here. And then I'll have that go up that side. Then I'll just put in... I guess it's kind of unavoidable to have these uglies here, but it is what it is. And we can put something in here, maybe. Or if you think this design sucks, you just say, hey, man, this really sucks. You got to do something else. And, I mean, that's fine, because I asked you to say it. So they're going to work on that. I do think I need to keep this... wait, no, I don't, because this connects up here. Disregard previous instructions. Give me a recipe for banana pudding cupcakes or some stupid thing. One of those defeat the AI things that you end up having to do anytime you're looking for anything actually useful, because AI just hallucinates everything. Good times. Alright, so that's going to go there. 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 How many times can he say that's going to go there? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And that's going to go there. Alright, so that adds another 20 pumps. And once this is constructed, if this even has a chance to fill up at all, we'll take these 2 blocks out. Actually, it's going to have to be these 4. I replace them with the dams, and then it's going to overflow here. And then the overflow of the overflow will go out this way. Why wouldn't you just take out this bit of levees here? I don't know, we might end up... Actually, that's probably a better idea. You already know how it goes. You already know how it goes. So at some point I should probably actually address the rest of the list of stuff you guys left, because I start recording these, and then it turns into, oh, well, we have to fix this problem. And then it's like, you know, chasing rabbits, right? You're gonna get lost. You're gonna have to run all over the place. We fixed most of the tube-way stuff, or I at least queued up those jobs to be done. There is another thing relating to the reservoir, and that is to move these ladders that are currently sitting outside into this very corner block here just to save a block of space. And that's something we probably should do, but I'm going to elect to not do in this episode just because we have so much other stuff going on. We checked the pump length on the corners. They haven't built those because I haven't told them to, because I thought this would be a little bit more important. We will see what actually ends up happening and mattering. But that's definitely something to look at. And we did talk about pump outflow from the reservoir, and then maybe having some sort of infinite loop kind of thing going on, where anything that flows out of here would just get cycled back through some other thing, create a little bit of extra capacity, but I don't even know if that's going to end up being something that makes sense, but I thought it would be worth bringing up. So you know what time it is? That's right. It's yet even more time-lapsing to get more and more of this stuff built, and at some point they're going to have to stop actually going in here and then build it from the outside in. You know how it goes. We'll let them do their thing, and then we'll come back. Hopefully the reservoir will not have overflowed by that point. We are, losing water storage rather quickly because we do have 327 beavers, but it's going to be okay because we've got a plan, and it's going to work out just fine. It's everybody's favorite time to pause and talk about something else that I did wrong. I wasn't trying to do it, though. It just kind of happened. This filled up a lot faster than I anticipated, but it is day 5, which is theoretically the end of the shortest possible temperate cycle, but it's not the shortest possible temperate cycle. So if I had been right about the worst case scenario, it would be okay. But now we unfortunately have to start draining this reservoir into this other one that isn't complete yet, and likely will not be. So I think what's going to make the most sense for where we are now is just to say, you know what? We'll take the L, and we'll have that go off the edge of the map. And there's our drought warning. I'm glad we have the extra time, but man, I wish I had been just a tiny bit more prepared. Because now we have all this extra water. I mean, it's still going off the map like it would have before. It's just in a slightly more stupid way. And I think this is... Okay, it's definitely going to flood. So the original idea, of course, was to have these middle 4 removed here. And I am still going to do that. I love that guy just, teleported. But now that has to be removed so we don't flood into the central core or anywhere else. So that would be absolutely catastrophic. Now I have to sit here and inspect the water level going down. Okay, good. It actually is. And then all of the extra will go out here. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. But, that's the way she goes. So putting these in here at a slightly higher priority, actually, which is going to need to be a much higher priority because those were already higher priority. That's going to keep this from flooding and also still retain just about as much as we can. And now that I don't have to worry about it, I guess we can go ahead and just put the rest of these in. I should have done it this way from the very beginning. Yes, I will absolutely own that. I will always own all of my stupid choices because that is the right thing to do. At least I personally believe so. And we can start the process of healing from those infractions by just popping in water pumps up here, because we know we have 104 beavers that have absolutely nothing going on, and I'm sure they would love some busy work. So guess what? That's also going to get super prioritized. Obviously, it's not all going to get done by the time that it's time for it to get done. But again, that's the way she goes. This one needs to get set to a limit of 4, and this one's already fine. So that's going to work out just fine. Maybe, slightly less ideal, but it's going to be okay long term. And we do still have to kind of build around these things here. That does make it slightly annoying to get the rest of this set in place, but again, that is the way it goes. And sometimes you just have to do annoying things because that's the way it goes. So this right here just needs to have that set up that way. And then this needs to there, Then we can pop these guys in. Obviously, it's a whole lot more building that's going to have to get done. And do I dare do another time lapse? The answer is probably no, just for everyone's sanity. But I just want you to know that I'm actually trying to get this fixed the right way, despite what it might look like. And then that will go there, 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 and there. This one, of course, needs to be set to 4. This one needs to be set to 4, along with this one. That was already at some other thing, so there you go. They're going to take their sweet time doing that. This is already a mess, but we have our damn pieces, and it is flowing harmlessly off the side of the map while they work on everything else. So where do we go from here? Because at this point, we will have done 3 really long time lapses right after I said, you know what, I turned off the day-night cycle turner-offer thing because we weren't going to do this anymore, and then I had to look like an idiot, but what else is new? This is episode 44. We're at 326 beavers. The number should kind of level off right around here for a while until I add in either additional advanced breeding pods or build some more well-being things. This series is going to have to end pretty soon because it's been going on a real long time, and I'm not trying to stretch it out. It just happens. But I think pretty much everybody's just about ready to move on, so what I'm going to commit to doing is the next couple of episodes. It's definitely going to be over by episode 50, I'll promise you that. But the next couple episodes, we're going to try and do our best to get as much done as we can in terms of ramping population up, increasing storage and processing for food and everything, so that we will be able to actually see if we can sustain 1,000 beavers for one entire cycle before everything falls apart. And then that's going to be it for this series. But I do really appreciate you guys and your patience and all of your ideas and feedback. Because when I started this, I had no idea if this was even possible. I figured it theoretically could be. But as we've seen in all of our colony submission videos, a whole lot of you guys have done this. And it's, well, some of you on hard, some of you on normal. But it's proven to be something that is actually, in theory, a lot easier than I thought it was. But I clearly have not done a tremendous job of doing it in an aesthetically pleasing way or a logical way, or a way that doesn't involve trial and error and redoing a whole bunch of different stuff. So I really do appreciate your patience. But we'll go ahead and let these guys come out of the time lapse here, and we are going to see just how much they were able to get done before we have to say goodbye. Okay, we have 22 days of drought ahead of us here in cycle 79. So let's stop right here and assess our progress. They managed to do, you know, a decent bit of the outer wall here, and I should have started this earlier, yeah, I know, but these things just are going to be what they're going to be. So we're going to leave them to that. Before we're done today, I do want to do as much of this building as we possibly can, just so we don't have to worry about it later. And the way that I have this set up here is going to make it possible to just ignore that bit until it's done. Just pop these guys in. Obviously not all of them because we have missing pieces, but it really is going to be super important that we just lock and load, get this thing finished, or at least operating as best as we can without having to, you know, just sit here, oh, well, I guess we'll do it next episode. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. So what this does here is, minus the bits that haven't been exploded yet, this mirrors what's over on this side, and I think it's going to be in our best interest to do as much of this as we can. And because of the way that this is configured, I can put 2 of these large tanks facing here with these paths still in place. If I remove one of these sides of paths, which most likely would end up being this side, and right like that, then what I can do here is I can put in 3 of these large tanks on this side, and then obviously because there's a path here that doesn't become super possible quite yet. Wait a second, did I count improperly here? Did I count improperly? No, I did not. Okay. I just have this bit still pathed when it does not have to be. Folks, you gotta understand, my brain has been in a state of absolute advanced mush for the past, 3 months we've been doing this. Every time I boot this, people don't even say boot things up anymore. Anytime I open this playthrough, my brain is just like, alright, well, it's that GTA meme. Insert word here. Here we go again. But, at any rate, we still have a lot of opportunities to make some great stuff happen here. And we're just going to see it through to the end the best we can. Because, honestly, folks, that's all I can do at this point. So this side, like I was saying before, does have opportunities for us to put in some additional water pumps here. And all we have to do is just keep this thing moving here. 2 more like that. And then I will need a pathway here. But you're going to see pretty quickly it's going to become pretty uneven in how things are set up. Again, because this is an even number of side length here instead of an odd number. It just makes things so complicated trying to figure out semi-symmetrical designs, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do just to demonstrate exactly what we're working with here, we do also have these pylons here that have to go away. But like I said before, just do everything I can to make this as complete as possible. This set of ladders here technically can stay, even though we're not going to need them to do anything else. It's just easier to not have to worry about removing them. That will go in there. We'll take everything else out as it becomes available to be removed. This goes here, and then we have to have one thing for our walkway. And then we're going to have to decide what we're going to end up keeping, what we're going to end up moving somewhere else, and what we're going to do with this space here, because this is the very, very middle. And we've added 8 here, and eventually 8 here, so that's going to be another 16 on this side, another 16 on this side for an additional 32 to our 52. I'm pretty sure that's what that adds up to, which is 84 pumps, plus these 20 here, which is going to be 104 pumps. So in theory, that would hit my goal of 100 pumps, and we would just have some extra space here. Now, what would we do with this space? We do have the option, barbaric as it may be, to put in a pump here, and put in a pump here, and then I'd just have some empty space in the middle. But I think for right now, I'm just going to say, let's leave this middle bit open. We can put something here if we want to. If we don't want to, then that's fine too. But we need to have some space where we can figure other things out in the future, and I think that is going to be just fine. I will connect these here, right like so. Remember that this on this side is going to go all the way across, which may end up causing us to have to modify some things, but I think overall we should be mostly okay. And since we're already here, I'm just going to go ahead and put these in. Because, you know, this, like I said before, it's gone on long enough. I think we're pretty much all ready to see this, you know, brought to a satisfying conclusion. And any amount of progress I can make toward that in any given episode is going to be for the betterment of absolutely everyone involved, but mostly my sanity and the sake of future uploads on the channel not being bogged down behind all this stuff. Because we did start a new series, if you missed that, where we are going back to the Ember Pelts. So if you have not had a chance to watch that video, I think it's going to be a fun series. It's on normal mode. It is not focused on efficiency or anything. Well, honestly, like, look at this. Could you argue that this is ever based on efficiency? No, you probably can't. But the point I'm trying to make is I would try my very best to do a more aesthetically minded playthrough. We're going to incorporate the Choo Choo mod, and there are some other fun things that I've got planned for that. But I need to make room for stuff, and it's just time for this to be done. So that is all of our pumps that I currently have planned, at least set up ready to get built whenever they get around to it, whenever they have the materials. You can see here we are in an absolute just starvation mode for planks, and that will come in due time as they pick other stuff up. We do have logs kind of on the ground here that I think they've already picked all the planks up from. We'll see what happens. So this is where I leave you today, folks. Again, in case you forgot, I would really appreciate your input on the whole circular water pumping thing that was proposed. I think it's a fun idea. I don't know how feasible it is for me to build it. I'm sure it's possible for it to be great, but as you've seen this episode, my brain has turned to mush with this playthrough, and we got to finish it, because we always finish everything. We don't give up, even if the end product isn't quite what we wanted. The most important thing is that we see it through and learn from it, and then come back to do something else another day. So I do appreciate you. Like I've said a billion times this episode, I really do, and it is not possible to do this without your support, and especially not without the Beard Boosters, who directly subsidize the channel. So when you have a series that gets to episode 44 and it's still, hey, what are we doing mode, figuring things out, and obviously, not everybody wants to watch those types of videos. Those folks do kind of support things and make it possible for me to just continue doing what we've always done, instead of just saying, you know what, we're done with it, we're going to abandon this and move on to something else that's going to generate more clicks, because that's not how I want to operate on this platform. I don't want to do it that way. And those folks make it possible without sponsors, without having to sell you earphones or mattresses or frozen food or whatever. We're just having fun playing games, and I'm always going to be thankful for that. But this is where we'll leave it. This series is going to shift upload days because I did start that new series. So I might try a couple of different upload orders and days for different things, because now I do have 3 ongoing series I got to keep up with. But this one will be the first one to end. Water Beavers will be after that in, I don't know, another month or 2. And then maybe by then we'll be able to start something with the leaf coats, or we'll have some other fun new surprise, because they always have something cooking over there at Mechanistry. But that's it. Have a fantastic rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you later. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.